the very beginning of the match, and then we're going to catch up during the mulliganing and shuffling. So this is coming to you semi-live. It's a little bit behind, but we will be live as soon as we head to game number 2. So let's get underway now between Alex Hotman and Simon Nielsen. Simon Nielsen, a recent GP victor. He won in Birmingham with the standard portion of the tournament. But of course, we're playing Modern today. Second time we've seen a company deck in the feature match area, Simon.
Yep, a deck I really like in Modern. We've discussed it before. It is a tier 2 deck, but it is very powerful. Alex is apparently playing black, so probably on that splash for Viscera Seer and sideboard cards.
Yes, we see Kitchen Finks, Viscera Seer, and Old Mate's Vizier of Remedies. A very potent combo, all the same, still in 2018. It's been that way for quite a while. We've been sacrificing Kitchen Finks for a long time, Simon. And things don't change too much, although your brother Dominic, we saw in the feature match area, playing just a green-white version of it. Looks like Hotman has maybe quite a heavy commitment to black here, both a Swamp and an Overgrown Tomb. Walking Ballista for 1 now. Nielsen on very much a glass cannon. Didn't cost 3. Nielsen on a very much a glass cannon of a deck in Storm. What are your thoughts on the Storm deck in the current Modern format?
I was very surprised, Rally, to see that Storm was becoming popular again at the Pro Tour. Now, truth be told, it was players like John Finkel playing that deck, who is known to really like Storm as an archetype. I played Storm for a while, and then Humans became really big. And I thought the Humans matchup was a big problem for the deck, and my reason to move away from it.
Yes, just a single meddling mage on something like Past in Flames or even just a Grape Shot is going to be lights out a lot of the time. Nielsen, however, ready to take the plunge. Played Blue-White Control a couple of weeks ago in Standard when we popped over to Copenhagen. And excuse me, not Copenhagen, Brussels. And now playing Storm in Modern. I had a chat with him about his deck choices. He even late into this tournament, or late towards this tournament beginning, he wasn't sure what he was going to play. Interesting to see him land on Storm. Here's the Serum Visions. This is very much the name of the game for the Storm player. In the early turns, they're looking to just weather the storm, as it were. Churn through their deck with cantrips, sculpt a perfect hand, and then go off, sometimes as early as turn 3, turn 4.
Yeah, turn 4 is realistic. You need a certain amount of mana, lands, and then you want to stick, for example, a Baral. And it's really not too difficult to go off from there if you have a Gifts Ungiven or a Past in Flames.
Took quite a while for us to discover the technology of Gifts Ungiven in the Storm deck, Simon. For a long time, people were playing Pyromaster Ascension. And now the gifts package tends to be, I think, a little bit more consistent, a little bit more reliable.
Yeah, and now Pyromancer Ascension is in fact making a comeback. You see, often you see 2 of them in the main deck even, as additional redundancy. Also, this Noxious Revival in Simon's hand is kind of a sign that that he might be playing Pyromancer Ascension. It's a card that's particularly good with the enchantment.
Decision point here for Nielsen. Looks like he's going to kick things off with an Opt. He's not under a lot of pressure, although Hotman is very, very clearly telegraphing a particular card, Simon.
Yes, he's telegraphing Collected Company, and that's really scary for Simon because suddenly there might be an infinite mana combo on the battlefield, whereas you were only facing 2 points of damage until then.
And infinite mana would, of course, mean infinite damage here with this Walking Ballista for Hotman. So Nielsen going to have to tread lightly. But a Court of Calling is the play here for Hotman instead. No, it's going to be Collected Company. Just shows that he's got both of them. No. Bit of a premature, still got all these, Simon.
Also couldn't cast the Court of Calling.
Oh, no, it doesn't have the triple green, of course, yes. Well, this is not the best company that I've ever seen. At least he's got 2 creatures out of it. But a Vizier of Remedies in addition to a Birds of Paradise here.
I've had worse company.
Have you ever done the full whiff?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've cast so many of them.
Have you really?
Yeah, when it was in Standard.
Man, that's
Rally the Ancestors.
That's unlucky. That is a bad feeling. The 6 card, no creature Collected Company hit. Oof. My goodness. So Hotman now. Horizon Canopy opens up some more white mana for him in addition to the Hierarch already on the battlefield. He's got, is that a Voice of Resurgence in his hand as well? Cool.
Main deck Voice of Resurgence.
Very, very cool.
My last money finish at a GP was with Collected Company deck. At the height of the Eldrazi, was it winter?
Yes, February 2015. 2015, 2016.
It's been a while since I won money at a GP, but I did it with Collected Company.
Hey, we're cashing these GPs. Don't worry about it. See, it's certainly one way to do it anyway. Certainly the easy way
Should
for
we
me.
should we get Planeswalker points for this?
Yeah, what would be a multiplier? Is it 8 times still?
Enough to make nationals at least.
Yes,
you know?
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hotman gets busy now for 4. Look at this Vizier. Very grumpy girl coming across for 4 damage. Nielsen knocked down quite a few pegs. He's got a lot of opts in hand here, Nielsen. He just did play the land and said go. So we'll see what he's wanting to do. I think he's just going to fire off these cantrips and hope that he can pull together something meaningful next turn.
And out of respect for the Collected Company, Simon held up all his mana there so that he could maybe repeal Devoted Druid if it came to that.
Another opt, and we did see Nielsen just draw a Goblin Electromancer off the first one. Are we going to see opt number 3? I think he's got the third one in his... No, he doesn't. Okay, never mind.
Manamorphose is huge. That's the card you really want to...
Yep.
You really want to find as many of as possible.
Yeah, the card's ridiculous. I think that it's still underrated in Modern. I think that, we see Mardu Pyrancer play 1 copy, sometimes 2. But it's a card that is about as free as it gets. It nets you a card, it nets you the mana back, it gains a storm, it helps you get through your deck. I don't know, man. I think this card isn't played as much as it perhaps should be. Here's a repeal now on the Walking Ballista.
Yeah, I can't imagine Alex letting that resolve.
So Hotman has the option to go upstairs for 1. He can pump another counter into the Walking Ballista, but I don't know how much traction he'd get from a play like that.
Well, this will tell Simon a lot about what is in Alex's hand.
Oh, really?
Because if Alex just lets this resolve or doesn't pump, he's definitely representing something else. But there's also a Gavany Township on the battlefield, so for Alex, I think it's very important to leave open the mana so that Simon doesn't know that he's safe to go off with Goblin Electromancer.
So Hotman does have 5 mana available, including the Gavany Township there. One of those Hierarchs is summoning sick, but the rest are able to, the other Hierarch and the birds are able to add mana to his pool here. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Add mana. Just wasting words here. I know I've mentioned this before, Simon, but have you seen the change that has undergone Darksteel Citadel over the years?
No.
It has just lost words. Every time it's been printed, it's had words cut off it, because it used to be Darksteel Citadel is indestructible.
No, just
add
indestructible.
colorless to your mana pool, and then it became just indestructible, and now it's just indestructible, add colorless.
And the symbol is also...
And the symbol as well, yes, yeah. So Court of Calling in response now to the repeal. That's going to mean that Hotman fires off finds a Shalai. That's a nice answer here to the repeal, although it does tap him out. So Nielsen now with an opportunity to start to pull something together. And I'll tell you this, a Goblin Electromancer with a couple of rituals in hand is a great way to start.
Yeah, and the problem is a Walking Ballista on 1 counter is not really doing much for you.
No.
I don't understand this play at all. I think this gives Simon all the information that he needs here. And also he knows that he doesn't have time to not go off. We might actually have a bit of math here very soon.
Oh yeah?
With 4th land, Electromancer, Manamorphose, potentially Noxious Revival becoming relevant, but I don't see Gifts Ungiven or Past in Flames in Simon's hand.
So Nielsen, plenty of ways to add mana to his pool here with those rituals. We are going to see Goblin Electromancer make them cheaper as well. He's not bottlenecked on mana too badly here, but yes, Simon, as you say, it's that critical source of card draw that he's missing right now. Nielsen also playing a bit of table piano for us here, counting it up, but his opponent on an effective F6, which is what we call it when players have no responses to make.
Yeah, he has a Walking Ballista for 1, but as I was saying, the creatures in the Storm deck have 2 and 3 toughness, so one point of damage is really almost irrelevant.
Oh, check this out, Simon. Even if Nielsen had a Gifts Ungiven, he can't cast it. There are no legal targets.
That's a really important point. Having Hexproof is definitely makes it a lot more difficult for the Storm deck to go off.
So you see Nielsen here with a blue mana symbol, a red mana symbol, and a little Storm counter there, very helpfully keeping things a nice visual aid to help us recognize exactly where he's at with relation to Storm and mana in pool and all that sort of stuff. But that's going to be a tricky thing for Nielsen to overcome. Wow, Chalet's a really great tech card. I love it, especially with Court of Calling.
But now Simon, even through without the Chalet, he doesn't even have anything. He's just hoping to that he can go off here. The Manamorphose will most likely add 2 blue, and that next card has to deliver.
So Nielsen 3 Storm, 2 red in pool. Thinking about what he's going to add here. Looks like it's going to be double blue.
It's usually double blue. You could go for red blue here in that spot. Honestly, it's not going to matter.
He's played the land for the turn, so 5 mana available. Here's a Baral. That's not going to do too much here. Most of the key spells in this deck do cost 2. Of course, Past in Flames and Gifts Ungiven are a little better, but as we've said, they're not going to do enough here. But Nielsen whiffs. He's not going to be able to go off this turn. So can Hotman push through 12 points of damage this turn, Simon?
I think yes, or at least he's going to force some really inconvenient blocks. And I don't know what Simon has been doing with all these cantrips, but he must not have found anything of note, just more cantrips.
Yeah.
It seems like bunch of lands also, 6 lands drawn.
So 2 lands in hand in addition to that Noxious Revival. So he can draw his pick of the litter from the graveyard next turn, but he doesn't want any of them, does he? It's something big like a Past in Flames.
Past in Flames, and even that is a long shot, because it's not lethal by any means.
Chalet, Voice of Plenty, check it out. I love it. A great tech card because, of course, it's fantastic in the disruptive mid-range mirrors where they're going for to leverage their removal spells against your creatures. The fact that you can flash it in instant speed with the Court of Calling.
Mm-hmm. It's an expensive card.
That is true.
But when it hits, it hits hard.
High impact, and also, of course, let's not forget the pseudo Gavany Township ability that it has stapled to it as well.
Yeah, which is a bit less relevant when you already have a Gavany Township in play.
Certainly.
I think Alex has a very obvious line here. Just attack with as many creatures as you want, and the remaining creatures are going to be pumped by the Township, and then you see what happens.
So even attacking here with the Noble Hierarch and the Birds of Paradise as zero power creatures, but that's going to change very shortly here as Hotman does have the Township. Waiting for Nielsen to line up those blocks, however. Here's one safe block, chucking the Electromancer in front of the Vizier. They're going to trade off no matter what. And I think we can also see the Baral go in front of the Hierarch.
Well, it is exposing himself to the Walking Ballista. So okay. I think Simon is almost without outs here. I can't really think of a sequence of draws that gets him out of this.
Gavany Township going to cost Alex Hotman 1 point of life thanks to the Horizon Canopy, but going to be paid dividends here with these +1/+1 counters all over the place.
That's a good trade. 1 point of life for
6 extra power.
6/6 +6/+6.
Do you think Hotman here is incentivized to trade his Walking Ballista with the Baral?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
You're winning on board anyway.
Yeah.
And the 2/2 Walking Ballista is not doesn't play another crucial role on this battlefield.
So, Electromancer, that's easy for me to say. Electromancer trades for the Vizier of Remedies, and the Chief of Compliance trades with the Walking Ballista activation after it's already done some damage. So Nielsen out of 5. The Dane in trouble.
No. You can also see that this Noxious Revival really cost him. It was basically a mulligan in his opening hand.
It is a stone cold blank here because it's not going to do too much, you would think. He is not got a lot of outs here, the Dane, and a lot on the line in this tournament as well. I think he's still got a sniff at the Danish captaincy at the WMC. It's one of the closest fought races in the entire tournament, and I think he needs another couple of points. He has to pick him up here. The race will be decided very soon. Most national teams have already been assembled. I think we've got one more weekend of nationals, Simon, but for the most part, a lot of teams have already been put together, some of them looking very strong. Mm-hmm. Sweden in particular, got a great team this year with Elias Watsfeldt, Joel Larsen and Vidor as well, getting into the top 2 of nationals.
Yeah, it's funny how Joel just... Did he win, or he made top 2 of his nationals?
No, he won
after not having more pro points than Elias. And now he kind of doesn't want to overtake Elias.
Yeah.
Because then he would kick him off the team.
Off the team, exactly, yeah. So Joel's in a tricky spot here. But Nielsen is in an even trickier spot as he goes down in game number 1 to Alex Houghton. Now, my friends, with the magic of video editing, we can skip a lot of the sideboarding, a lot of the shuffling, and go straight to live magic here from GP Prague. This is now coming to you live. We've skipped a lot of the sideboarding here, and these players are getting ready to go to game number 2. A lot of table chat. You can see smiles on the faces of both of these players. If you haven't met Simon Nielsen, one of the most genuinely positive human beings you're likely to meet. I don't know Alex Houghton, but based on how the look on his face, looks like he's having a good time in the feature match area as well.
Yeah, Simon Nielsen is a very pleasant and communicative Simon.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm not going to compare apples to apples. I'm not going to compare Simons to Simons. But, both of you are bespectacled. Both of you are very good at the game of Magic. One of you is generally a little more effervescent, Simon. But look, I'm not pointing fingers. Doesn't matter which one of you it is. Let's check in now and see what's going on with game number 2. Alex Houghton and Simon Nielsen, Collected Company versus Storm here. Looks like some early cantrip action for Nielsen, again with a Serum Visions. There's the Gifts Ungiven. Would have been no good last game anyway. He's brought in Dispel. I like this card.
Mm-hmm. Dispel, really, really good against Court of Calling and Collected Company.
Which spell?
Dispel.
Oh, Dispel, sure.
One card to be super scared of is Eidolon of, what is it? Rhetoric?
Rhetoric. If you want to be very specific and correct, it's Eidolon of Rhetoric.
Eidolon of Rhetoric.
Yes, Eidolon.
The problem is this can come down at instant speed with Court of Calling or Collected Company, and then you are just locked out of casting spells for the rest of the time.
Because you've already presumably committed to starting to go off, and then that's just a big brick wall. No, you're not going any further.
And then if you don't have that Dispel, you are just out of luck.
Which spell?
Dispel.
Oh, Dispel. There is the Eidolon. One of the few Eidolons that made it through to modern playability. The other one, of course, being the Eidolon of the Great Revel. And for those of you who are a little unsure of the way that it should be pronounced, it is in fact Eidolon. Most people say Eidolon, of course, and that's fine. It is okay to be wrong. There's nothing I like more than a split hair, unless it's a split hair that can be re-split. Vizier of Remedies getting busy now for Hotman, knocking Nielsen down to 18. Slower start here for the German.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, rough stuff. Nielsen needs an answer. And as a 1-4 as well, it's immune to the lightning bolts that Nielsen may have brought in. He's looking at that Dispel and thinking, oh my goodness me, what have I done?
He's thinking that should be an annul.
Oh, it would be so much better. Nielsen's in a world of pain here. The 1-4 comes down and all of a sudden this is a massive beat. We can't really overstate this. The Abrade doesn't do anything against it.
No, also a card that's actually quite good in this matchup is Grape Shot.
Yep.
Because you can just, not for winning the game, well, also that, but just on turn 3 or 4, you cast a few cantrips, maybe one ritual, one monomorphos, and you kill all these Viziers and Mana Elves, and you buy yourself so much time. Having that Eidolon be hardcast is actually just the worst thing that can happen to a Storm player.
Dispel, getting rid of that Collected Company, but the Eidolon beats continue.
Which spell?
That spell.
So that's the correct answer.
Yeah, it's a little known fact that Dispel is actually pronounced dat spell. Here's Kitchen Finks now for Hotman. He's more than content, Simon, to play one spell a turn.
Absolutely, and I mean Kitchen Finks is not actually great in this matchup. Actually pretty weak. But it is a 3-power beater.
Often because, this isn't like Scape Shift where trying to get the extra 3 points, 6 points of damage is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. Often Storm will be able to generate enough Storm that they get to a point where they could take you down from 40.
Yeah, also here you see something where if it wasn't for the Eidolon, you could go Ritual Gifts, Gift Ungiven, Gifts Ungiven, but and that sounds like a bad play because you're investing 2 cards, but it's just something you have to do sometimes to further develop your mana or to threaten the kill. All of these options are just not there.
Into 4 now for Hotman. Nielsen needs something like an Unsubstantiate. That's going to be the card that gets him out of this. I don't see any other answers to the Eidolon short of double Abrade, which is now out of the question, or maybe an Anger into Abrade. But
yeah, but you can't cast 2 spells, so
I'm a fool, Simon. It says it right there on the card.
Yeah, I used to play a few Flame Slash when company decks were a lot more popular.
Yep.
Now that you are so unlikely to play against company decks, and not all of them have the Eidolon, and there's humans to worry about, you just cannot afford to play narrow cards like that.
And also on top of that, 4 toughness is not the magic number anymore. We used to live in a modern format where 4 toughness was a very important number to be able to hit when we had Restoration Angels flying around, for example. These days, it's 5. You've got to be able to kill Gurmag Angler.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, something like, Terminate really is where you have to be for this sort of stuff. Fatal Push is great at the smaller creatures, and then unconditional removal for the bigger ones. But Flame Slash, just doesn't... It used to be played all the time. It used to be played in the Twin decks, in the Jeskai decks.
It was actually one of the best 1-mana creature removals we had. If you were only concerned about killing creatures, of course.
Back to Hotman now. And we'll see what he can do here. Well and truly in control of this match. After having won game 1, Birds of Paradise in hand, a Windswept Heath off the top. Nielsen does have the Gifts Ungiven. I mean, he can find the Unsubstantiate with it, but I guess a Noxious Revival is going to help him draw it. But even then, man, it's a long and very slow road for Nielsen to get back into this one.
And he doesn't have enough turns. He doesn't have enough turns to cast that many spells.
He's got to cast the Gifts here, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
He has to cast it. Viscera, Ships, Nielsen now. 7 cards in hand, has to do something.
Nielsen is facing lethal, and he has a maximum of 3 more spells to cast before Hotman kills him.
Oh, of course, because of the Gavany Township. Yep, that can clean things up very, very tidily. A little bit more table piano here from Nielsen, playing a bit of chopsticks for us there, as he figures if there's a way for him to get himself out of this. Man, a bit of a non-game for Nielsen.
A non-match, I would say.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe if he takes all of his sideboard cards in his hand.
Yeah. Goes up to 22 cards in hand. I mean, it might help him.
No, but honestly, he's pretty dead to the Eidolon just looking at the deck list. So
he has 1 unsubstantiated.
Oh, he has it in hand.
Has he found it?
Yeah.
Oh, what a master.
So then I think that is probably... Well, that's interesting. You are wasting mana if you unsubstantiate here. So maybe you have to Gifts Ungiven? Oh, really? This is such a complicated turn. You have to unsubstantiate first, and then you can't... Well, or you don't want to ritual mana Morphos Gift that turn. However, if you gift this turn, then you have just more mana to work with.
Looks like it's going to be the gifts first here, Simon.
No, something about gift piles. What you usually don't want to do is you don't want to get your mana creatures with a gift. You usually want to get you want to have at least 1 mana creature, and then getting Past in Flames, Mana Morphos, and 2 rituals is just almost always the guaranteed kill.
And when you're talking about a mana creature, for those unfamiliar, we're not talking about something like a Noble Hierarch or Birds of Paradise. We're talking about Goblin Electromancer or Baral, Chief of Compliance.
Yeah, maybe there's a better word for those creatures.
I don't know.
It's like the amulets of old, or but
the amulet creatures. But you understand.
I think mana creatures, mana saving creatures, is a fine term. And here you see actually this pile that I was also thinking of, where you take 2 creatures that are really, really scary for your opponent, and if they are not holding something like a path, you expect them to not give you these creatures, and then you get a mountain, which in a sense is the best kind of mana source compared to a ritual.
Let me hit you with some suggestions. Hot off the presses. Hot off the chat presses here. How do you feel about this? Medallion Bears.
Yes.
Medallion Bears pretty good.
That's probably not an original suggestion.
Cheapeners. Bit vanilla. Can I hit you with this? Stormlords.
Yeah.
Stormlords is very good. Because they provide a lord-like effect for all of your spells, right?
That's the winner. That's the winner right there.
Stormlords.
It's also like Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very much into Stormlords.
Okay, we got it. Thank you, whoever that was.
That was Zero.
Thank you.
It's a great piece of Twitch real estate and also a fantastic name for the creatures played in Storm. We'll be using that moving forward.
So Alex Hotman, in my opinion, made a smart choice here. He knew that Simon was restricted on mana, and it's clear to him that the second Stormlord is actually of no benefit to Simon. Also because Simon will need to first deal with the Eidolon before he can drop Goblin Electromancer or Baral. The decision to not give Simon the land and the Past in Flames, I guess, didn't matter so much. I kind of like.
So Baral now, that means that that's the end of Nielsen's turn. He can't cast another spell, but Hotman even has the Collected Company. This could be it. Double Hierarch. Birds. Okay, not the most impressive Collected Company again, but I mean, even the Hierarchs are good for those Exalted triggers in a pinch.
Yeah, and Simon couldn't cast the bounce spell and Baral and then still rituals. He could have led with a ritual, maybe. I didn't do the whole math, but sometimes... Oh, no, then you can't...
Simon Nielsen has 8 cards in hand.
No, it's still end of turn.
Oh, still end of turn. That's right. Okay, excuse me. Wow. I was thinking that he's just like, passes the turn, forgot to discard.
I did that once playing Turbo Fog last weekend.
Oh, yeah?
I was just going off. I was taking all the turns.
Yeah.
But you still have to discard, you know?
At the end of your own turn, even if you're going into your
Even
next
if you're drawing 3 cards a turn.
It's tough, yeah. But Nielsen's aware of it. Yeah, you can see that he's very ready to discard here.
So what I was going to say is you could unsubstantiate, ritual, mana morphose, Baral, ritual, and then maybe go somewhere. So that, I think, was his alternative line, but I didn't have time to do all the math required there.
So Baral now, the only permanent in play for Nielsen other than his lands. Hotman's going to eat up one of these Hierarchs. Viserys is going to trust his guts and see what is on top. Let's have a look here with the scry.
Simon is playing with fire here, I think. Hoping or calculating, taking this calculated risk that he might still be alive through this turn.
He does have Grape Shot in hand, so what about an unsubstantiated ritual, Grape Shot, your team? Or is that just too bad? I mean, in the face of Gavin Townsend
instead of last turn, instead of the Baral that we saw, or next turn?
Or just at all?
Well, next turn it doesn't matter because he's going to bounce the Eidolon anyway. So then he's going for the kill.
Okay.
I think you have to go for the kill because otherwise the Eidolon comes back down and you have the same issue as before.
So Hotman can't push through 8 points of damage, right? 3, 4, 5, plus 5, 10. It's 10 power spread across 5 creatures. It's tough.
Yeah, but the key here is that if Alex invests 5 mana into the township, he might not have the 3 mana required to recast the Eidolon.
So this is just now a free unsubstantiate for Nielsen.
It's an unsubstantiate that Simon can cast before Alex's end step.
Yeah,
which is makes a huge difference.
Which will save him 2 points of damage. But I mean, I haven't thought this through. I haven't counted it up. But Nielsen right now could go unsubstantiate for 1, and then build up an enormous Grape Shot with the rituals in hand, and then just mow down Hotman's team. I don't know if that gets him anywhere, but I'm just saying that's on the table.
Well, it's Grape Shot is not an instant. So
it's not. Okay, so then forget everything I said. I'm an idiot.
That's only when Simon is allowed to untap. Okay. And if he's allowed to untap, he's just going to
go straight to the face.
Exactly.
Right, never mind. I'm a fool. As many people have noted, like to confirm suspicions.
There are not too many storm spells which are instants, which is probably a good thing.
A good thing. So we see Nielsen get out the storm counters here. So Hotman battens down the hatches and gets ready to face the oncoming storm. Nielsen on 2. Can he pull this one out of the bag?
Oh, it's going to be quite the storm. I don't know. Oh, wow. I don't know what Simon has in hand exactly, but there's a gift in the graveyard, so I think it's
academic?
It's academic.
All right, okay. Well, I have to say, hats off to Simon Nielsen of the way that he's navigated these, but very, very choppy waters. And they're only going to get choppy now as the storm continues to rise here. The winds begin to howl. The thunder cracks across the horizon. The lightning splits the sky. as Nielsen now, very, very slowly and rather anticlimactically, starts to pull together all of these spells. Ritual's off the top. He needs to find a way to draw cards, but as you said, he does have that gift sign given in the bin.
Well, maybe he doesn't even need to draw cards. Maybe he can just empty his hand. Yeah, he can just empty his hands. That's 4 more spells, and then he casts Past in Flames,
Okay.
the red rituals, and the Grape Shot. So he could just reveal his hand at this point. It's unless Hotman has some crazy 1-mana spell that saves an Angel's Grace.
He's
that saves him here.
even able to splice the Desperate Ritual onto another one there. So he's got all the mana in the world. We'll see another light bit of tectonic activity rumbling through Prague here in the Czech Republic. As we see Nielsen continuing to build up this storm, heading closer and closer to the eye. Grape Shot in hand.
So at this point, you can start thinking about, do I have to play around Surgical Extraction?
Yeah.
Do I not expose my Grape Shot to being exiled? But as we can see here, if Hotman had a Surgical Extraction, he probably would have used it in a different way. He would have exiled the Past in Flames.
So Nielsen draws off the flashbacked Manamorphose. Bolt off the top here for Nielsen. Love to see that one at the scon, but no, it's going to be 9 storm count here. So up to 10, so that does... Well, that's going to more than halve Hotman's life total there. And unsubstantiate the original... Oh, this is deft. This is deft, Simon, as he unsubstantiates the original Grape Shot. So all of the copies still resolve, and that means Hotman's got to pack up his cards. Simon Nielsen clinging to the cliff by the edge of his fingers, but manages to pull himself back up on top of it, and we're going to game number 3. Masterful stuff from the Dane here, who, as we said, is playing a pretty high-impact tournament for his career, tilting for a chance at the Danish captaincy for the upcoming World Magic Cup. Tell us about your experience at German Nationals, Simon, because I know you were there last weekend.
I was there.
Big tournament?
Yeah, really big tournament. I didn't expect it to be that big. We were close to 550 players.
Wow. And where was it?
In Marl, near the Ruhrgebiet.
Okay.
Northern Ruhrgebiet area.
So up near Hamburg?
No, south of Hamburg,
Okay.
near Münster.
Okay.
Somewhere there.
Mhm.
And like I said, I wasn't expecting 550 players.
Yeah.
That's a ton if you only have 13 rounds to play.
Yep.
I enjoyed the tournament. I played Turbo Fog, 2 drafts, ended 7-6. Not a great record, but I can still, put up a fight.
Hold your head high as a proud German.
And Mark Tobias.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Mono Blue Storm deck.
Not because I'm not a big fan of Mark Tobias.
No, well, I'm a bigger fan of Mark Tobias than of the Mono Blue
the
Storm deck.
yeah.
But he just crushed the event.
He knows the deck inside and out. This guy, he's a titan of German Magic, it's to be sure. Back-to-back German national champion. Led the Germans to the semis, the top 4 of the World Magic Cup last year. Look, hoping for another great performance from Germany at the WMC this year.
Mark is, if you ask me, is the best German player right now.
Mhm.
And he will most likely be joined by Christian Haug.
Yes, after a fantastic performance at the pro season for the last 12 months, of course, making the top 8 of Pro Tour Ixalan.
And having 2 pros or people with significant Pro Tour experience is what you want in your national teams.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not guaranteed. 550 players.
Simon, I've made a national team before. The barrier to entry is sometimes very low.
Yeah, and anybody can
Anyone
do it.
can make the national team, for sure. But no, Germany's team looking pretty good, as indeed is England's. I don't know if you caught some of the action from English nationals. Autumn Burchett, back-to-back national champion again.
Super impressed by Autumn.
Oh, yeah. They are just...
Rewarded for the dedication.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a few years ago, Autumn was in the conversation for Constructed Master, and now they're showing their prowess at the highest level again of Magic in their country as the back-to-back national champion. It's incredible. Another back-to-back competitor at this year's World Magic Cup will, of course, be Stephen Murray for Scotland. He did come second in Scottish Nationals. It looks like Danny Anderson will be the captain for for Scotland. So a
Yeah.
decent team assembled there.
Before we get back to this game, one thing we should mention is that because not all of your GPs count to your point total, the math is quite a bit difficult
very complicated.
to. You cannot just say somebody needs this many points, but you have to see what is the least scoring GP finish of that person and subtract it from the GP finish that they could have here.
So Nielsen now, fiddly fighting around with a couple of cantrips. Hotman off to a slower start as well, just the Noble Hierarch for him. So both players kind of getting into the groove, although I have to say Nielsen a little bit further ahead thanks to the fact that he's already seen, 6 extra cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're also quite happy when your collected company opponent starts off like this. No devoted druid to be seen, and just in general a slower start. But of course now we're entering collected company range again.
Back to Hotman now. And that is going to be the card on Nielsen's mind if of course, Hotman passes with 4 mana up. Doesn't look like he's going to. They might have something to deploy. A Kitchen Finks, perhaps, or the Eidolon. Are we going to see another 1/4 come down? No, it's a Sin Collector. Still a great card against Storm here, Simon.
Yeah, and one of the advantages of actually playing the black mana.
Oh no, pretty clear pick here for Hotman as he takes the Anger of the Gods. And of course, this isn't like a Kitesail freebooter, because once the Sin Collectors come down, that's it. It's gone. It's exiled forever. Forever and ever. Amen.
And unless Simon hit something really good on top of his library, it's also a pretty weak hand. No Stormlords anywhere to be seen.
I love it.
And only a single card draw spell. And Manamorphose, you don't really want to just cast it. You want to wait.
It's certainly not like an Opt or a Sleight of Hand where you just fire it off. No, it's something that you want to be as part of the combo for sure.
But those Serum Visions must have found something. I expect Simon to have at least one
something tasty off the
decent
top.
draw step here. Yeah.
All right, well, let's see here. He has scryed a bunch, so let's see what's on the top here for the Dane. Off the top, it is a Gifts Ungiven. Perfect. All right, good stuff from him there. Does have the Steam Vents to play, should he choose. But not a lot of action right now. Could have braid that Sin Collector.
Yeah, I don't love abrading a Sin Collector. It's so irrelevant to what's going on the battlefield.
Because ultimately it makes very little difference to Nielsen if his life total is 19 or 3, essentially.
Yeah, there are some cards that matter, like Walking Ballista, but ultimately not. Now, I don't know if Simon scryed 2 cards to the top or just the Gifts Ungiven. You can play this slow. I don't think you need to take 2 from your Steam Vents, waste a Ritual, and just fire off the Gifts Ungiven, because you're not very likely to win next turn anyway.
And he's not under a lot of pressure, right?
Oh, but I think Simon is disagreeing. He wants to get his value while he can. So taking 2 from Steam Vents is effectively the confirmation that he's going to ritual Gifts here.
Now, Gifts is, of course, an instant, so he will be able to cast it at the end of Hotman's turn. Hotman takes another ding from his Horizon Canopy. We'll see what his next play is. It's going to be Kitchen Fink. So definitely a much weaker draw from Hotman here. In fairness, he does not play a huge number of Eidolons there. Usually the stock list only plays 1.
Yeah. 1 is the absolute default, sometimes 2.
I mean, it's not a bad pick.
Well,
it's actually not a bad card to play in multiples.
It kind of depends how important you think it is in the current metagame.
I mean, we've got KCI. That's it. That's my point.
That's it.
Full stop.
Yeah. That's why I think 1 is enough.
The thing is, you're not playing 1, are you? You're playing an effective 5.
Exactly, and that's great.
Yeah, that's
you spend 1 of your sideboard slots and you get a high impact card, but having 2 of them to marginally increase the chance to draw it naturally is just
it's actually it's a silly thing to do, because of course you've got Court of Calling, you've got Collected Company, you've got a bunch of ways to get it onto the battlefield nice and easily. So no, just the one ski.
And that other slot can be a silver bullet for other matchups.
Yeah, that's true. So Shalai, for example. Shalai or a Kentucky War's Wage or something like that. Here's a Gifts Ungiven pile. Now, Simon, you mentioned before what the typical pile looks like, but it looks like Nielsen has gone for the Stormlords pile. Past in Flames, Desperate Ritual, and the 2 Stormlords hitting the bin now.
And you see the weakness of going for the Stormlords, that you just don't get them.
Yeah.
If you need them, and if you don't need them, you get them. So it's very difficult to go right with the gifts pile for Stormlords.
So a tapped Spire Bluff Canal is going to be tricky now for Nielsen, although he still doesn't have what he needs. Past in Flames, very expensive card, especially when there's none of these Barals or Electromancers to make it cheaper. In for 5.
It might not be the most relevant thing, but you're reducing your chances to just naturally draw Electromancers and Barals.
Hotman takes another one off his Horizon Canopy. Been a very painful walk across that enormous leaf. Do you prefer the old or the new version of Horizon Canopy?
Old.
See, I like the art on the old one much better, but I don't like the border as much.
I can get behind that.
The new art is also sick, though. It's just that it doesn't have the same message to it. You know, the huge leaf, the people on it, the clouds on top of it. It definitely sells the message of a Horizon Canopy, whereas the other one is just a very nice looking picture of some trees. Nielsen now, considering his options.
He aggressively cycled that Mana Morphos. I don't know what he was trying to find. Maybe another Gifts Ungiven. That's quite a desperation attempt already.
So, well, what are his options here with the Past in Flames? He can power out a huge number of those rituals there and try to cast a Past in Flames and get something going with the gifts. Maybe because the Metamorphose in the bin he can cast again. But man, I don't know.
You have to count the amount of card draw that's available to Simon here, and that is actually only the Metamorphose as far. Well, no, it's the Metamorphose and 2 blue spells in his graveyard. So
well, here we go. Oop, it's the danger zone.
He's just gonna go all in.
Yep.
That's what I assume. Cast Past in Flames. He doesn't get any mana reduction, so this is the playing Storm the hard way.
It's hard mode. Yeah,
It's
you've
hard
gone
mode.
into difficulty settings and you click Legendary and you've started level 1 and you're like, oh my goodness, the grunts are no longer dying to a single pistol headshot. What's wrong?
And the thing is, in theory, yes, he has one more turn to wait here. But in practice, you never know if Hotman is just sitting there with waiting for an untapped mana source to drop a Collected Company or a Court of Calling for the Eidolon.
So, all of those cards in the left-hand graveyard, the southern graveyard, have flashback. We're going to see one immediately flashed back here. Storm count up to 5, mana up to 3. He paid with a land there.
Yeah, one thing to look out for here is you don't want to flashback more spells than you need to flashback, because you might still draw yourself into you might still draw yourself into one of the Stormlords, and then you want to have those on the battlefield earlier. So I don't think the sequencing here was ideal from Simon. I would have liked to see the card draw as soon as possible.
Nielsen now with a Serum Visions. Maybe setting up a Metamorphose. Counting up that Storm. Looks like he's at 6 so far. Drew a card off of the Serum Visions. We haven't got a look at it yet, Simon.
I think it's just another Spirebluff Canal.
No good. Already played a land for the turn, of course, and even if he hadn't, it comes into play tapped. Maybe he hasn't played a land for the turn, actually.
So the great thing about the value Past in Flames is it is still in your graveyard. So you're not that far off from still being able to win the game.
Nielsen up to 6 Storm and up to 5 mana here. Or 4 mana, I should say, excuse me. The days of Seething Song are behind us. So he's desperately building. Building and building. Going to use that last blue mana here before we have to start dipping into the reserves of Metamorphose there.
As a Storm player, I can say I really appreciate opponents that take over the Storm counter die for me.
Yeah.
The mana I can manage myself, but because it happens all at the same time.
The Storm thing is another, it's another matter entirely. Well, Nielsen having to think through this carefully, taking his time to make the right decisions here. Again, the southern graveyard is the one that has all of the spells with flashback. We're going to see another ritual now by the look of things. Desperate Ritual. Shaking your head, Simon. You don't like the way it's going?
What is Simon's plan? He has to cast that Serum Visions, right? So I don't understand why you cast your rituals before the Serum Visions. Or does he want to cast Gifts Ungiven and just... well, he could have done that without flashing back the... Okay.
All right, Gifts Ungiven now. Cast off the Steam Vents down to 2 mana. 2 red mana in pool.
3
Or
red.
3, excuse me, because it costs 3 plus the blue.
Oh. Did he have only 4? Did he have?
I thought I only thought he had 5
Oh,
red
he had
mana.
5.
For.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was my call there, but I was very ready to be overruled there, Simon. So we see the Stormlords once again. Another gifts. Love the way he squeezed those cards out of his deck. That was deft. Surgical, almost. Actually, not surgical. I would not enjoy it if a doctor did any
A surgical
kind of surgery.
extraction of.
Simon Nielsen. Simon Gertson. You are the greatest man. So, Electromancer, Baral, gifts, and looks like a ritual hiding out at the bottom of that 4 there. Desperate ritual there. And still a Manamorphose to provide the necessary blue mana for one of those Stormlords. There's the pile. Nielsen shuffles. Hotman gets the chance to decide where those cards are going. Remember the old combo with Gifts Ungiven? You go and get Unburial Rights and something like Iona.
Yep, absolutely.
Because, of course, I think, was it Frank who first wrote about it, I think?
Well, legend has it that Frank was even casting Gifts Ungiven for 2 back in Kamigawa block.
Oh, really?
So before anybody else was up to that technology.
It was, is that right? We've got Frank Carsten standing by, waiting for him to confirm whether this is true or not. He's saying he used to cast it just for 1. Just get 1 card, put it in the graveyard. Just a really, really bad entomb. That's Frank. Frankie numbers. He's never wrong.
So that means you can also cast it for 0.
It says up to, man. Cast it for -1. Take cards out of your graveyard into your hand. Oh, no, into your library, in fairness. They wouldn't go into your hand. So what's next now for the Dane?
So Hotman once again denying the mana creatures because he knows how difficult it is for Nielsen to win without one of those. And also a single grape shot, not too scary. And this draw step is huge.
It's got to be big. Ooh, a Dispel.
No, that's not what he wanted to see.
What did he need there?
Another grape shot. If he had the... Yeah, he would have had exactly the mana to kill with double grape shot.
Oh, nice.
That would have been very good, very sweet.
He needs an Unsubstantiate again. So
Unsubstantiate costs 6 mana total. I don't think he would have had that.
Sure.
Now the other issue with that Dispel is he is tapped out.
So, Lightning Bolt on the... oh, dear, on the kitchen things. Oh, no. This is rough here for Nielsen because he burnt up a lot of those resources trying to go off, ultimately whiffed, and is just going to fire a grape shot at one of the kitchen finks and then the rest upstairs here.
I'm going to be honest, I think he had to wait one more turn, despite all the risks.
Yeah.
I think his chances of winning this turn were too slim, and he wasn't even close to facing lethal or anything like that. The opponent did not have a strong draw.
No.
So I would have been happy to see them draw one more card. Sure, if it's the untapped land and there's the Collected Company and it hits Eidolon or the Sin Collector, you've significantly reduced your chances. But I think going off there was very optimistic.
So it looks like these players are getting close to time. There may have been a brief extension. We'll get a confirmation on exactly how many minutes are left remaining in the match. Exactly 0, Simon, as we see the die come in. So 5 turns remaining. After Nielsen's marathon turn just now, it looks like we are all out of time in the regular round. So we're going to go to these extra turns here. Now, can Hotman put together 10 damage? I think it's probably a little more likely than Nielsen doing it. Although, of course, he still does have that Past in Flames in his bin. That's where that story is going to start. Here's Birds of Paradise now for Hotman. And Ships doesn't cast anything else. He had a Vizier of Remedies in hand.
And he didn't attack?
I mean, surely he could have attacked this turn down to 7. Cast the... Oh, okay. All right. This may have something to do with it here. So a chord for 0?
For 1.
Oh, because he didn't
X
attack.
equals
He
1.
didn't attack. That's right, yeah. Chord for 1.
Chord for 0, get Walking Ballista.
Well, Nielsen has the answer. This line's not going to work out well for Hotman because Nielsen has the Dispel should he choose to use it. And obviously Nielsen's not worried about a 1-drop coming down.
Yeah, what is this 1-drop going to be? Viserys here?
Maybe. Yeah, and then he can gain. Yeah, actually, that makes sense. He can get the Viserys here. He's then got the Vizier of Remedies in hand, which he can cast again an arbitrarily large amount of life. Frank Carson, I hope you're listening, because I didn't say infinite. Doesn't look like he's. Oh, he is listening. I'm getting the thumbs up from Frank Carson. A rare moment for me, ladies and gentlemen. A personal milestone achieved for me, for sure. Always have to watch what I say when Frank's on the headset there. Duskwatch Recruiter now. And Nielsen, effectively, he's got this turn and that's it. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, Simon. Opt off the top.
Well, most of his mana creatures are in the graveyard, so that's, I think, the card that's missing
Sorry,
here.
most of his what?
Stormlord.
Oh, Storm.
Sorry.
Didn't understand what you were talking about there for a second. And that's going to be the biggest problem here. Yes, he needs one of those Stormlords to get the ball rolling. But right now the ball is stationary. It's on the neighbour's roof. And it's not coming down. Hotman settles in for the long run again. You can see a crowd of people assembled here. This would be one of the last games and indeed matches remaining in the round.
Looks like this is a decent card on top, or at least Simon keeps it.
All right, I think it was an Electromancer.
You can only keep it if it has game-winning potential here.
I think it was an Electromancer.
No, it's a 2-mana ritual effectively.
Oh, it must be a foil one then, because I saw a golden glint. Okay, so what does he do now with this mana, Simon?
6, 7. Does he have enough to flash back the Passing Flames? Yeah, I think he might win this now.
Are you kidding?
No, he's going to deal 9 damage with Grape Shot.
So he found the ritual that he needed. As a Serum Vision scries draws and then scries 2. Repeal, Metamorphose, the scries here. Where are they going?
If you can draw another card, then you definitely want the Metamorphose. But maybe, depending on what Simon drew here, he might not be able to finish it. 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe he has 8 points of damage in his graveyard.
I know.
Oh, is that a lightning bolt in his hand? I think he found.
Well, that'd make things very easy.
I think he got it.
So up to 6. Storm count up to 7. Still plenty of mana ticking away available here for Nielsen.
Enough mana to also cast that Abrade, or really anything.
Sure.
Great stuff.
Sure. Wow. Nielsen pulling this one out of thin air like Storm players are wont to do. He fizzled ferociously in the last turn here, but he may be able to pull this one together in the very last turn of the match for him. Metamorphose.
Don't make too many blue mana. That's risky.
3 and 1 here.
And with the lightning bolt, it's actually safe. Now Hotman cannot kill his kitchen things.
Bolt you down to 6. Hotman has to, with a wry smile on his face, has to concede victory to Simon Nielsen, who, look at that. A big sigh of relief for him and a smile on his face, because that was a real long one. What a marathon it was.
He was a top deck away from dying, so he drew an opt, which is actually not what you want because it costs you a mana.
Yeah.
Then he saw the one ritual that would get him 2 mana because you were able to splice it. It was really, really close.
Really had to come together for Nielsen, and it certainly did. So congratulations to him as he improves to 4-0. My friend, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back after this with more Magic, however, back at GP Prague in just a few moments. What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the booth here at GP Prague. Riley Simon with you, and we're going to jump into some time walk magic, my friends. We've got just enough time to bring you game number 1 of Julien Félix-Fleury and Gregor Kowalski, the GP champion. Now, a special one here in the hands of Fleury. He's playing Restore Balance. Looks like our good friend Kowalski is on a pretty cut and dry white-blue controller, Simon. But talk to us about Restore Balance. It is a wild card.
It's absolutely wild, yes. Restore Balance is the suspend version of the original Balance. Belongs to this cycle of Ancestral Visions and so on. Now, what you want to do is you want to abuse Restore Balance with these border posts so that you don't have lands in play when it resolves, and most importantly, cascade spells, so that you can cascade into Restore Balance with it's 100% to hit Restore Balance because you're not playing any other cards that cost less than 3 in your deck.
So the border post there, I mean, all of them say the same thing. It just depends on what colors they tap for. That one is a Firewild border post, which taps for red and green, and it says you may pay 1 colorless and return a basic land you control to its owner's hand rather than pay Firewild border post's mana cost. So Fleury obviously fetched for a basic, played a border post, used the basic tap for 1 mana, and then the border post comes into play. And we're going to see that happen again now with a Vanefire border post. That one is a black-red one. And a Greater Gargadon is suspended off of the Vanefire border post.
Business as usual.
Yep, just modern, guys. Just welcome to another modern tournament, excuse me.
Look at that Field of Ruin.
Such a great card.
No. If you don't have lands to target.
Objectively speaking, not so good here. No, when Fleury is playing a flurry of border posts and basic lands.
Kowalski also.
He's playing around Restore Balance masterfully, not committing lands or creatures to the battlefield.
Yeah, I don't know if that's such a good strategy as the control player.
Here's a Mardu Charm now. Haven't seen this one for a while, Simon. See what he wants to do with it here. Looks like we're going to have a look at the opponent's hand. Mardu Charm, of course. It is a flame slash. What is the 2 mana make 2 2/2s?
Raise the alarm.
It's a flame slash raise the alarm or duress.
Yeah, instant speed.
Instant speed. Looks like we're going for duress here.
Don't love instant speed duress when your opponent is about to discard. I think it's just better to let them discard and wait with your spell.
Okay. I can see that for sure. And we had a look at Kowalski's hand. All sorts of business, but no way to deploy it here. So right now, if Fleury were to play a balance off something like a Demonic Dread, it would cost Kowalski one land. So it's not going to be the best. Maybe a card in hand as well, actually. Balance, one of the cards that when you look at it in face value, you sort of think, how good can it be, really? And then your mate takes it in cube and destroys you with it after casting all their signets and what have you.
You do need artifacts to break the symmetry.
Yes. I mean, it's like any card, any deck that plays a sweeper, right? You want to minimize the creatures that you have and to maximize the asymmetry of the effect. Here's a Demonic Dread with a Simian Spirit Guide powering it out, and this will almost certainly hit a Restore Balance. There it is. So, Restore Balance says, I mean, it's a weird card to read, but the effect effectively makes sense. What it does is each player chooses a number of lands he or she controls equal to the number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest, then sacrifice the rest. Players sacrifice creatures and discards the cards the same way. Essentially, whoever has the lowest number of creatures, lands, and cards in hand, all players go down to that number.
Yeah. And Julien Félix-Fleury here fetched Marsh Flats without searching for anything, or sacrifice it to the Gargadon. I guess that's even smarter. And then with the balance on the stack, also sacrificed the planes that he still had in play to the Gargadon. So this is effectively now a double Stone Rain and discard 4.
So that was, ladies and gentlemen, an honest to goodness 6 for 1.
Oh, even better. So actually, what Fleury did was he put the Marsh Flat trigger on the stack.
On the stack. What a master. Incredible stuff there for Fleury as he sees Kowalski more or less eviscerated by this huge play. And after this restore balance now, Nihiri the Harbinger comes up to clean up.
Yeah, and having 4 mana the turn after your opponent had 0 is
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
And that's
unbelievable.
That's why balance is not a fair Magic card.
I mean, it's not balanced.
Exactly.
There's no way that this card. I mean, Fleury hasn't restored balance. He has instigated imbalance. That's what the card should be called. Instigate imbalance. Very, very poorly named card, I have to say.
Which is actually often the case with white cards, right?
Yeah.
The righteous cards that sound positive at first glance, but
and then you look at it, it's like, oh, this is actually really nasty. Greater Gargadon comes across for 9. Fleury playing at a quick pace here. We see a very quick ultimate thanks to Nihiri the Harbinger. And absolutely crushes his opponent. Oh my goodness me. Style points to the end for Julian Felix Fleury. He turned over his deck. The bottom card was Emrakul. He's like, mate, I got to do you one better. Slam and jam with a Simian Spirit Guide.
Gotta love it.
Oh my goodness. What a beating.
This is game 3, by the way.
Moved on to game number 3 now between Fleury and Kowalski. And unfortunately, actually, we're being told we hope to actually get a look at game number 3, but we're actually going to have to bring it back to the booth, my friends, because the next round is upon us. I can tell you that Kowalski did win 2-1. So Fun Police, unfortunately, coming across and cutting restore balance down to size. I mean, you can't take an insult like that lying down, Simon.
No, I mean, what are you at, 11?
You can't lose to Simian Spirit Guide and let that insult go unpunished. So it's good to see Kowalski getting his revenge there. Anyway, my friends, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Magic after this. It looks like Tim and Frank Carson will be in the booth with you then. So stick with us. We'll see you back at GP Prague after this.
Show off your love of Magic the Gathering with premium statues from Prime 1 Studios. Each figure stands 28 inches tall and is carefully sculpted in high-quality resin. Pre-order yours today at SideshowCollectibles.com.